It's a cute little camera I always thought about getting. The reality is that I have too many cameras. But then, to make a logical and intelligent review, I have to make it based upon what you would consider, or someone else that had just one camera and they wanted to have a walkabout camera. Fuji X70. Extremely cute, nice fixed lens. A little bit wider than the Fuji X100T, which really you think, wow, the X-T2's favorite camera. No, really, honestly, the X100T is. I can't wait for the X100F. Thank God they're not going to stick a flippy screen on it. There are a lot of brain-dead idiots out there that want a flippy screen on the X100T, and they're morons. They don't understand that it's actually a rangefinder style camera. That's kind of like sticking gold spinners on a beat-up pickup truck. You know, very, very dumb. Just doesn't fit. Anyway, the X70. It is obviously a leaf shutter camera. Wonderful. It is obviously, as most will admit, the little brother to the X100T. Fixed lens, leaf shutter. Very simple. Obviously, there's nothing to look through, so you can only look at the LCD screen on the back. Everybody admits that the pop-on, which is insanely expensive, by the way, I think it's like $290. It's something ridiculous. I could actually build, for like no money at all, a little look-through viewfinder that actually fit on the hot shoe. It would be very effective. I mean, I could build it in like 30 minutes, and it would be much, much better than that $300 abysmal thing that Fuji sells to stick on this, so that you could actually have something to look through. But ultimately, if you actually take the lens hood off my X100T and remove the detachable grip, it's not really that much smaller. So it's like an X100T wannabe. It is. I mean, you can get a used X100T now for like $800, and that's pretty much what the X70 costs. So you'd have a full-fledged camera that's sharper. Neither one of these cameras are fast. Rangefinder's cameras don't need to be fast. They're plenty fast enough. The X100T is with its hybrid viewfinder if you use it in electronic viewfinder instead of optical for autofocus tracking acquisition. X100T is a really solidly built little camera made in Japan. The X70 is built in China, but these are specifications. I mean, you can get the specifications anywhere. I certainly say that if anybody had an X100 camera or X100S or X100T, they would just be disappointed with the X70. I think it's an awesome little camera. I don't like the fact that it's made in China, but I know it's one of their smaller cameras. You can't call this a point and shoot. A, it's got a fixed lens. B, it's a true hardcore leaf shutter lens, which, I mean, if you don't know what the hell a leaf shutter can do magic. There's nothing more magical than a leaf shutter in photography. I mean, a leaf shutter is more magical than high-speed sync. Wait a minute, leaf shutter is high-speed sync. It means it lets you use any damn speed light, any damn flash made by any damn buddy in high-speed sync all the way up to 1/4000th of a second. However, at full power up to 1/1000th, since the T1 time in most speed lights is 1/1000th of a second flash duration. Menu is very straightforward. You can actually do a push to touch. However, that's kind of poorly implemented on this unit. Other people have actually commented on that. I love the fact that it uses the same battery. I don't like the styling of the camera so far as using it. I could get used to looking at the back of the LCD screen. I can see some advantages for street photography. You look like a stupid-ass tourist, and, I have a touch LCD display here. Let me stick it in automatic. Stick it in. Here we go. I've got it on force flash. The images from it are very lovely. I actually like the camera. I don't actually like the four buttons on the four rocker buttons around the OK menu button. I don't know if that's because it's a Chinese build or they simply changed that since from the XT2. Is it worth what they're asking for it? It is. Would I buy it? A, I've got way too many cameras, and B, compared to my X100T, it's not really any smaller, and I have nothing to look through. The advantages are, obviously, I could look like a goofball doofus and take pictures unseemingly of people obviously not with a flash, however. Simply by using the touch button for focus and or forced flash, like I have right now. Actually, I think the camera ranks like a 9 out of 10 for somebody else that would just want a simple little... I can't call this a point and shoot. I mean, really, it's a semi-professional, very full featured too, by the way, as far as the menu system. I don't like the not that it's going to ever fall off. I don't like the plastic knobs and buttons on this one, but I mean, it's not an X100T. It's not a Fuji X-T2. It's priced accordingly too, and it's made in Japan. The build quality actually is exceptionally nice. I'm not saying it's poorly built. Just for the money, it's like, would I rather have a new one of these as opposed to a used X100T? No, I mean, if I remove the crap off my X100T, it's not any smaller. And the X100T can do quite a lot more. Don't need a touchscreen. But obviously this thing does need a touchscreen without any viewfinder or anything to look through. I mean, it's pretty damn mandatory and obligatory they have something there. Autofocus speed actually is just a hair quicker than the X100T, depending. A little bit wider. The lens is definitely softer. Actually, a lens that sits that close, I'd definitely be worried about this lens cap. I know I can actually take this off and stick it on here. You just unscrew this ring off the front, which is stuck on there really tight since it's basically a new camera, but it does come off, and I actually can screw this lens hood on there just like it is on my X100T. I think they're both exactly the same size, so I can do that. It doesn't need a filter. Well, it really kind of does need a filter. I mean, I could screw the lens hood on there, but then, I mean, it's not a pocket camera anymore. I wouldn't want to put a filter on this, but also this isn't good enough. I can see this coming apart in my pocket and then coming over, and it's so easy to scratch the bejesus crap out of the front element of this lens by that being in your pocket, because this sits on here like on imagination. It just does. That's a little bit poor implementation. At the very least, I could see the smallest thing would be just screwing a filter on this and then sticking a regular Nikon lens cap on the front of this thing, so it'd still be small, but I'm not worried about scratching the front element, because once that's scratched, this camera is a piece of trash. I mean, let's face it, it is, if that were to get scratched. But I actually love it. However, you know, coming from the X100T, I just wouldn't buy it. It's just too close, and it's not drastically smaller, ultimately, than the X100T is. Now, mine is a lot bigger, but that's because I got a bunch of crap screwed onto it. But I think it is a wonderful camera. I think it's priced accordingly, and I think it's an awesome buy. If I only had a couple cameras and I wanted something and I didn't have an X100T to pack around with me, I still don't think I'd actually buy it. I would buy a used X100T, a far wiser choice, something that gives you a full function capabilities, used for basically the same price as that is new. I've talked to a lot of people and I've asked them how well the X70 sells, and it may sell like hotcakes over in Europe, but I've talked to a lot of people and they said the X70 just sits there and collects dust. I think a lot of people are put off by the fact that it's a fixed focal length camera. I know that's a fact. Also, a lot of people just don't get what the hell the magic, mystical fairy dust is that surrounds a leaf shutter, which is so wonderful. If people knew, I think they'd actually sell a lot better. Fuji actually needs to do that. People that know, you know, the hardcore guys, that, you know, they already know, and they have an X100T. The people that don't really know, like the amateurs, but they, you know, those are the people that Fuji needs to educate. Fuji needs to have a page dedicated to the extra magical fairy dust that is the leaf shutter system, and what the hell you could do with a leaf shutter that's so damn awesome. I can actually see sticking a flash Q trigger on this and using a stupid old Nikon speed light. I mean, I could do high speed sync with any old damn stinking speed light, you know, from the 1980s. Stick it on 4,000th of a second, f2.8, shoot into the sun, backlit portraiture, offhand or on a monopod or tripod, a speed light off in the distance. I mean, this would make a great little portrait candid lens camera. So that's it. I mean, It's kind of an odd review, this one is, for this camera, because I really enjoy it, but I don't need it, and coming from the X100T, I can't justify buying it. Not because of the fact that I own too many damn cameras, which I do, but it's an awesome camera that, you know, half of me wishes that I had, but the other half's like, you know, no way, I just don't, you know. I just don't. It's just too close. I mean, if it were like there's no way you can make that camera for $500 anyway. I know that. I mean, it's actually priced too cheap for what it is, even though it's made in China. Leaf shutter, high quality build. It's actually priced too cheap. But there's no way I could justify it compared to the X100T. X100T new is pretty damn expensive, but I'm talking about snagging a used one. The X100T, you just blow it out of the water, feature-wise and capability-wise. And it's not really any bigger. You know, neither one of these is any more of a more portable travel camera than the other. It's like, so shit, which one would you take? It's like, well, I'll take the X100T. So it all boils down to that. All boils down to that for me. I'd still love to have it, you know, but logically it's impossible to rationalize the acquisition of it. But that's just me. I do find it wonderful and enjoyable. It's not as sharp as the X100 is, but also, too, that lens hood is a horrible design. The first thing anybody that bought one of these should do is stick a filter on the front of this, and then use like an old Nikon lens cap or Leica lens cap to stick on the front of this, because this thing will come off in your pocket and it'll come over here and it'll scratch the shit out of the front element. I know I haven't done that already. I'm extremely careful about that, he says as he looks at the front element of the lens. So I'm not keeping that one, but anyway, so that's my review of the X70. Awesome, but meh, you know, meh. It's kind of like that really useful utilitarian person that is really awesome and you love having them around, but you would never marry them. Kind of like that. It's like, she's awesome, you know, she's pretty but not really pretty. She's very useful. It's good having her around, but I would never date her or marry her. Kind of like that. I know you're thinking, yo, no one would marry you either. Well, that's another discussion. So, thanks for watching. Bye.